Okay, so I did mention in March certain dates, and it's really this upcoming week that we need to look at, and the dates that I mentioned. So, I've mentioned 14, 15, you can include the 13. I think I mentioned the 18, so probably day before, day after. The 10th is a big day. But I also want to say, so do check that out. Do check that out. I'm actually a bit gutted and I feel sick because someone stole my bike. I don't know how they do it. I'm blaming myself, even though I know that I checked the lock, that it's locked. That maybe I could have locked it differently around a different part of the body. I don't know. I feel sick at the thought someone's done this, so I can't imagine being someone who actually does that. And now I've got to pay that back as well. Anyway, so I would say this coming week, possibly a bit further on, I feel like the energy is this week, a major city in the US. Avoid outside events, major gatherings, because it seems like something could happen in a major city, which is of people being unhappy of what occurred in terms of the war, or the continuation of what's happening. And I think it's becoming clear that the influencer and the one who's kind of like the mandate between those two leaders and who's tagging along is very clear. I even saw a BS post that said, all through 2 nights, myself and BB have been really in negotiations with Iran to stop thingying neighboring countries. That's not from them, and I might do a separate reading because it's kind of like frameworks that want to control. Anyway, yeah, just major city, and also unfortunately, I think in the near future there could be some kind of a violent eruption in the UK. So we have to be careful with that. It's kind of like some kind of violence, an eruption. And I've said this before, but it's in the UK, and it could have it in Europe as well. Okay, so we do want to be careful with that. I did mention about travel being affected, definitely getting affected. I think people think that overnight the regime of Iran is going to change and it's going to go back to the 1970s. And I was going to do a video on this because religion is being placed as the excuse even for the Jewish, the Judaism, the elite billionaires that hide behind that and say, well, you're anti-Jewish, that's why you're being like this. And we kind of buy into that, but no. So where was I going with this? Yeah, Iran needs a few more years until there's a complete regime change. I think we're looking at you see more of a change around 2028, 2030. It was definitely between those 2 years we see some more change. So I think people are thinking, oh, overnight there's going to be a complete change. And I think if people knew exactly what's behind this, they might not be so happy of it, because it's still going to cause, there's still going to be chaos, right? Remember I said about the oil supply before this war happened and the prices, and I said about even food inflation, but also keep some water around. So that has come through. The Middle East conflict will continue. I don't believe Iran has the wants to actually be at war with its neighboring countries. But the way that things are going to be escalating from propaganda is what might cause it, because those neighboring countries have a lot of Western base, and they also have always needed defense. Until recently did they have army, etc., and still is at that level. I asked in March, when is the next elections? Because I think I said, I think Trump will try and go for a third term, but there's something around elections, and I don't know when the date is, that I think they might try to delay it. So that is something. I also see this week, and I think it's going to happen a few times over the next 6 weeks, let's say from now into June, that Duck is going to make some grand announcements. And you might be like, well, he does do grand announcements. Yeah, he does, but these are going to be grandoys then. If he does grand announcements, it's going to be grandoys. Communication, it's kind of like, this one is like he's rallying people or rallying around the flag or raising a victory flag. It's kind of like a communications that is quite grand, you know, happening. We definitely are in a spiritual battle, and that is against the evil, the malefic, the mass media, the propaganda, the bureaucracy, bureaucrats, you know what I'm trying to say, to try and control us. I think there's going to be some new laws coming out, and some of that's going to be around biotech. There is going to be, adding on to what I've already said, new structures around control introduced. And this is the excuse I feel that they're giving, is national security due to wars like Iran, Ukraine, etc. So that's something to look out for. I would watch the connection between the US and China, and I think we need to watch that very closely. Now, if I think of Canada, due to what's happened, given I say about the US, maybe a major event happens, and I don't see that being external. What I was getting with Canada is like words that I didn't quite know: safing, sleeping, safe. And so I was trying to look it up, and I was getting all different stuff coming through, and obviously Amazon trying to sell like little tents or something. But then I got something and it makes total sense. So based on context, sleeper refers to threats not a safe country status. Specifically, the FBI is warning of Iranian-backed sleeper cells active in the US and other nations. These are hidden groups designed to blend in before committing acts of violence or espionage. There's no widely recognized geopolitical term for sleeper safe country. The key context of sleeper threats. The definition: sleeper cells consist of individuals, groups waiting for orders to attack or offend, often hidden for very long periods of time. So I think Canada's fine, but we just need to be lookout for those individuals that could be under safe sleep or sleeper safer. Sleep, what was the word I was getting? Because here it says sleeping cells. Sleeper cells. But I was getting something else. Sleeper safe, I think I got. So that's what eventually, after watching everything, that I got through. So again, just be on the lookout. Major gatherings, etc. Don't always buy into that this is Iran, right? I'm not with, I have no connection to Iran. I am not with any country, any leader, or any religion. So yeah, but overall, I think you know, it's okay. And I don't believe Iran will bomb the US either. You've got the two major leaders. No. So go to March and see what I've said in that. The media propaganda is going to be an absolute overload, right? This month, March, I've mentioned it and various times this year, but this month is overloaded. And tune out. Tune out when you need to. My stomach hurts from the bike, by the way. China is doing things behind the scenes. I feel that happening. And don't forget the spyware that I've mentioned before, and what I've covered in previous readings. I was going to pull cards to see if elections are fake. I don't know what your thoughts are. I've got thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments. Princess Catherine, I think for this next 4 weeks, there's something about her watching the level of security that she needs. And I feel like she wants to be somewhere or do something, but maybe she gets held back from it or something. But it feels like there's kind of like a bit of an unexpected turn. And I don't mean that the royals are holding her back, but I do think she needs to be careful on her public appearances and maybe just refrain from that. And that could be that it's also William, but refrain as much as she can around certain public appearances. For some reason, I get that around her. We are waking up to who really controls the world and the frameworks. It's not who... What have I written here? I think what we're seeing is that the Western world is waking up to realizing that it can't and it won't rule the world, nor discreetly be owning countries that just say, yes, I'm with this country because it's kind of large leader. So we're going to see more of that kind of pushback on where Western world, certain countries were really governing, ruling the world. And we will still see they have a heavy hand, but slowly we'll see that change. I know Jim Carrey's been in the news, and I want to touch base on that in the cards and tell you what I was seeing, but I really wanted to get out this little message around, you know, major events gathering, what I said about the UK and probably some of the Europe. Do you know what I was just getting? EV. China, I think, is going to come out with a new electric vehicle or EV or something. And I've mentioned in my last read that I do believe there will be an unsubscribed but not chosen, like an unalive of, I want to say Congress, Parliament, but Parliament's not in the US. So something around that coming up very soon. And I do also want to say something else that was coming to me today is I think BlackRock will be in the news this week, okay? Or it might be just posted on their website where not many people check it, but they've done it for legislation, but it's kind of news. Or there's a partnership. There's a reframed messaging around BlackRock and finances. And some of the message is the actual facts, but then there's a messaging around the message to cause a distraction, or the meaning behind it. So this could actually be a big week. And that's why I really wanted to just hop on, really emphasize watch March, okay? And you can catch up on the Nancy as well, Nancy Joffrey case. And that's where I'm going to leave it, just to reiterate about March and give you that message. I hope I remembered everything. I think I did. Please wish me luck that I can get the bike back. Do you know when you blame yourself that maybe I could have locked it in a better way? I know it was locked. Because it's not only my bike, I was borrowing it from someone, so I just feel gutted and bad for them. And then, you know, mountain bikes, that bike was not cheap to repay back. But I don't know how people do it. I don't even know how I'm going to sleep tonight. I hope you are all blessed and well. And yeah, just take care this week. But on a positive note, this week, I think it's the 11th of March. So this week as well, Jupiter goes direct. And it doesn't matter where Jupiter sits in your chart or where Cancer sits in your chart, what house it's in. I can help you with that if you know your rising. There's good movement on that front. And wherever there's a malefic, and we've got Jupiter, not to mention his Sagittarius ruler, he's going to balance out where there's a malefic like Rahu, Ketu. And if you're a Sag, I feel for you, because we've had Saturn, Neptune, we've got the North Node, South Node in the Pisces axis. I think it's been for like 6 planets in the 4th house of Pisces. It's been an absolute killer. So shuffle out. And everyone, take care, stay blessed, and I will see you in the next one. I'm going to get this up. It is Sunday, but I think you will see it on Monday. And bye for now.